We must also be careful about how we schedule our time or what we plan to do. You do not need to have a calendar that is completely chock full of every single activity known to man. You can schedule success and be successful at it by doing what you value most and setting time aside for those activities. For most people, it will most likely be spending time with family, strengthening family, helping family. You will also probably want to schedule time for increasing or improving your education, for reading, for learning. You will most likely want to set aside time for improving your health, exercising, doing something to be active so that you can take care of yourself. Thank you for listening to Music, Motivation, and More, the Positivity Podcast. I am your host, Jerald Simon. I am the founder of Music Motivation and the creator of the Cool Song series. I am also the creator of Essential Piano Lessons. It's part of an essential piano exercise course that I've created as well. Today's podcast is titled Improve Your Insight. And in today's podcast, we're going to be talking a little bit about the difference between insight and foresight and even aftersight. Sometimes we have these forethoughts and afterthoughts where we can imagine something happening. And we focus so much on what we want to accomplish that sometimes we end up not accomplishing what is right in front of our faces, something that is right before us, that needs to be accomplished that day because we're so focused on something in a far-off, distant future that we forget about today. So we're going to talk about how to improve your insight today. I'd like to start off by reading a review, and I'd like to thank everyone for subscribing to my podcast, Music, Motivation, and More, the Positivity Podcast with Jerald Simon, on the various podcast platforms available. This review is from Sasfla, capital S-A-S-F-L-A, might be an abbreviation for a name. It says, "This is my favorite podcast. It inspires, motivates, and helps me stay positive. What a blessing it would be if children could listen to this at school each day. It's like a candle in a world that has been too dark lately." Thank you so much. I appreciate that. I would love to have everyone leave a review or a testimonial. It helps out so much with this podcast and with helping others discover and learn about this weekly podcast that I've created. So thank you so much. I appreciate that. Every week I'm going to read a new review, so I just want to thank everyone for your reviews. Right now, I would like to start by reading from my book, Perceptions, Parables, and Pointers. This is the positive perceptions for today's podcast, and it is about improving your insight. This is from my book, Perceptions, Parables, and Pointers, and it's found on page 40. Let me read this for you. Improve your insight and focus on perfecting your foresight. Too many people are short-sighted because they focus on hindsight. It's easy to say what should have been done when the outcome is already known. But those who hold on to hindsight hinder their future growth. Stop looking behind you to see what you should have, would have, or could have accomplished or become. Turn around and face your future. Stay focused, and you will improve your insight. Face forward, and you will perfect your foresight. Just a short paragraph, but it's all about what we personally can do to improve our insight. Now, we can think about reading more. We can think about studying and learning more. And that's wonderful. But much of what helps us improve our insight is thinking outside of the square, the box, the circle. Thinking outside of the normal thoughts that we are led to think. See, most of what we actually learn about in school is learning what to think. But too many teachers are encouraging and even being told that they need to help students learn what to think. And yet far too many individuals are not being taught how to think. We must learn how to think for ourselves, how to think critically, how to think intelligently, how to think not only academically, but creatively. We must learn how to think about what is happening in society. We must learn how to think about what has happened in the past, and we must learn how to imagine, or you can think of it as a wonderful daydream about the future. It's about thinking and learning how to do it effectively. For the Motivation in a Minute portion of this podcast, I would like to read a quote by Mahatma Gandhi. This is found on page 173 from my book, Perceptions, Parables, and Pointers. This is what it says. Men often become what they believe themselves to be. If I believe I cannot do something, it makes me incapable of doing it. But when I believe I can, then I acquire the ability to do it even if I don't have it in the beginning. And of course that is by Mahatma Gandhi, or Mohandas K. Gandhi. What did he mean? That belief. And many times we don't have the ability in the beginning. Even if we believe we can accomplish something, we don't have the ability to do so. Now that is about helping us improve our foresight. See, we are looking at ourselves not as we presently are, but as what we can become. But instead of getting lost in a daydream about tomorrow, we are actively participating in the present, realizing that what we are doing is helping us become who we have already envisioned ourselves to be. I usually tell individuals to work backwards. Don't work forwards. Create the perfect, ideal image of who you want to be, and know who that individual is, what they think, what they do, what they wear, how they speak, what their day looks like, how they live their life. You need to get to know that individual you will become. And then what you do is you work your way backwards. So many times we have this mistaken identity where we are looking at ourselves in the mirror and we are saying, I'm not good enough. I'm not smart enough, I'm not fast enough or strong enough, because we are comparing ourselves to everyone around us. Instead, what we need to do is we need to look at ourselves and not look at those around us, but look at ourselves as if we're looking through the looking glass. We are looking through to ourselves at a future date, as if we have already become that person, and then we act that way today. It is not about faking it until you make it. It is about being confident. It is about being honest, being polite. It is about working out every day, being health conscious. Not because it's something that is a goal you are working toward. It's because it is a lifestyle that you are living. Sometimes I think we think about goals, and goals have a tendency to have a bad rap because people are setting goals, and many times they set these goals and they set themselves up for failure because you need to set a lifestyle. It's about creating a lifestyle. It's not about setting goals. It's about creating the you want to be. And that takes insight, foresight. It's about improving your ability to look beyond who you are right now and to visualize who you are going to be. That is not someone off in the distant future. Yes, it will take work today, and you will need to put in the time and the effort to accomplish what you need to accomplish today to help you become that person in the future. But you need to be that person today. That means if you want to be in better shape, you become a workout expert today. You don't wait 20 years to become that person. You be that person today. You schedule time for success. In your schedule, you actually come up with a plan where you say Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I'm going to work out. Maybe Tuesday, Thursday, I'm going to run. Whatever it may be, you are scheduling success. And then as a result of that, you are not becoming that individual, you are being that individual. And then you naturally become who you are already in the process of being. Because we have worked backwards. We have determined where we want to end up, and then we are living our life as if we are there. Don't wait until you are retired to take trips. Find a way to take them now. Plan it. Set aside money right now, so then within a year, you can have a trip. And if you do that every single month, where you're setting aside a little money for a trip you want to take, every year you can take an amazing trip. And then maybe you can do something to increase or augment your income, and then you could take an amazing life-changing trip maybe twice a year or 3 times a year. See, it's about becoming the individual you want to be. And that does require insight, but we need to improve our insight. For the Music Within portion of this podcast, I would like to have you listen to Downcast from my album The Dawn of a New Age. This is a piano instrumental piece that I composed. I'd love to have you listen to this. For the Poetry That Motivates portion of this podcast, I would like to read a poem I wrote from my book, The As If Principle, Motivational Poetry. This is found on page 87, and it is titled, I Foresee a Victory. Let me read this to you. I foresee a victory over turmoil, frustration, and defeat, a complete turnaround from temptation, where sour and bitter turn sweet. I foresee better days ahead, free from the pain that each sorrow brings, where happiness returns and our spirit sings. I foresee a happy humanity, where people live in harmony, where love abounds and tolerance is found, and all is as it should be. Now, in order to foresee that victory, we need to be looking. We need to have our eyes open. But we need to know what we are trying to see, what we are hoping or expecting that we will be able to view. That means that we need to be prepared and be ready. I would like to give you 5 actionable steps to take starting today to improve your insight, to fortify your foresight. Of course, your hindsight is already perfect because you can look behind and say, if I had done this, or if I had learned this, or if I had accomplished this, then things would be a little different today than they are. The hindsight never lies. But I need you to turn around and face your future and be prepared and continually be preparing. These are the 5 actionable steps I would challenge you to take. In life, I want you to think about not the game of life, but I want you to think about the situation of life. The first thing, I would recommend playing or learning to play checkers or chess to better understand how to think several moves ahead. Life is the ultimate checkers or chess game. We do need to think ahead. We do need to be prepared, and we do need to realize that what we consume, what we eat, what we read, what we listen to, what we learn, those thoughts, those attributes, that music, it affects us. So we must be very careful about what we consume in life. We must also be careful about how we schedule our time or what we plan to do. You do not need to have a calendar that is completely chock full of every single activity known to man. You can schedule success and be successful at it by doing what you value most and setting time aside for those activities. For most people, it will most likely be spending time with family, strengthening family, helping family. You will also probably want to schedule time for increasing or improving your education, for reading, for learning. You will most likely want to set aside time for improving your health, exercising, doing something to be active so that you can take care of yourself and your body, your mind, your heart, your soul. 2, I would have you think about the outcome before you begin any process. Think about the outcome. Now, that means that you need to think ahead. You need to think about how whatever you do, whatever you say, whatever you are attempting to do, will have either a positive or negative reaction. See, there's always an action and there's always a reaction in everything. But far too often, we think about something and then we ignore our thoughts and we do something because we do it by impulse. We don't plan ahead, and that can cause problems. 3, visualize the process before you create any to-do steps. With step 2, I said think about the outcome before you begin the process. And now I'm saying visualize the process before you create any to-do steps. Well, once you have thought about what the outcome is going to be and you can have the big picture, then I want you to visualize how you go about achieving whatever results you want to achieve. Too often, people will try to schedule little steps or to-do lists, and that can be good, and sometimes it can be bad. Sometimes we become so focused on the to-do list that we forget about the big picture, which is why you must visualize the process. Okay, first think about the outcome. And then, of course, step 3 is the process. How do you go from point A to point B or all the way to point Z? Step 4, I put down measure twice, cut once. Sometimes we have to measure 3 times. That's just a saying that carpenters use where they measure twice and cut once, because anyone who has built anything out of wood, anyone will tell you that if you don't measure twice, if you have the wrong measurement, and then you cut, you can't put back together what you have cut. And many times, either you need to have new wood, or if you can, try to glue it back together or try to nail or screw it back together. You can try to salvage whatever project you are trying to build, but it is better just to cut once after you have measured twice. Actionable step number 5 is to take time today to dream. Envision the life you'd like to live. This time, you are not going to be coming up with a schedule. You are not going to be creating goals or to-do lists. This is just about dreaming. This is about envisioning. This is about improving your insight. It is about fortifying your foresight. It is about thinking about who you want to be 5, 10, 15, 20 years from now. What characteristics and qualities do you hope to possess? How much income would you like to be making? What trips would you like to have taken? Who would you like to have met? What hobbies would you like to have pursued? Or what skills or talents would you like to have developed? See, you are taking everything that you eventually will become one day, and you are thinking about that individual as if they are in the present, because they are. You are not only who you are at the present, you are who you will become. You just don't know it yet. Think about the palace that is created from the brick. There is a palace within every brick. Think about the flower within the seed. Think about the mighty oak within the acorn. See that? It's not just potential. Sometimes people talk about we need to understand our true potential and what we can become. You are already that. The act of becoming is the realization of who you are and accepting and acknowledging that you are that individual and living that lifestyle. Far too often, we think of the end result as if somehow there has been this long destination to get to, this long path that has been perfecting and refining us. And oftentimes there is. But you can shorten that travel time from where you are to where you hope to end up one day simply by being that person today. And by being that person, you will actually become who you were born to be much faster, sooner than you think. You need to be. Yes, you will become, but it is more important that you be who you were born to be. I want to thank you for listening to this podcast today. Hope you have a great rest of the week. Do your best in everything you do. If you haven't already, please subscribe to my podcast, Music, Motivation, and More, the Positivity Podcast with Jerald Simon. And then I would like to also have you leave a testimonial. I'd love to have a review from you. You can read the other 5-star reviews that others have left, but I'd love to receive a testimonial from you. It helps us as we promote and help others learn about this podcast, but I would love to get your feedback. Thank you so much. You can read more on my website, musicmotivation.com. You can listen to all of my music if you go to any streaming platform, Pandora, Spotify, Apple, Amazon, whatever your streaming platform is. You can listen to all of my albums. I'd love to have you read any of my motivation self-help books. We have Poetry That Motivates. We have my book, The As If Principle, Motivational Poetry. My book, Perceptions, Parables, and Pointers. My book, Who Are You? Your Personal Success Goal Book. Discover who you really are and who you can become. And then I have my new book, Becoming Who You Were Born to Be, which will be coming out soon. And I'm excited to have you read that in addition to my motivational self-help books and poetry books that I've come out with. You can actually purchase the PDF books of all of those books if you go to poetrythatmotivates.com. You can learn more about my Essential Piano Exercise course and books if you go to essentialpianoexercises.com, essentialpianolessons.com for my weekly group online piano lessons, and then essentialpianoteachers.com to learn how I am helping piano teachers all over the world motivate and inspire their piano students to learn music theory, improvisation, and composition on the piano. You can check out my YouTube videos on my YouTube channel. It is youtube.com/Jerald Simon, and you spell that JeraldSimon. Thanks so much. Hope you have a wonderful day. Smile all the while. Be happy. Do your best. And as you do your best, you will continually be better because you are being the person you should be. And you will become who you were born to be. Thanks so much. Have a great day. See you guys. Bye. Subscribe to Music, Motivation, and More, the Positivity Podcast, to receive updates of each new weekly podcast produced and released by Jerald Simon. A new podcast is recorded and released on Mondays. Listen on any podcast platform of your preference. But I'd love to have you listen to my music as well. You can listen to my music and find my artist name, Jerald Simon, JeraldSimon. You can listen on Spotify, on Pandora, Apple Music, Amazon, all the different streaming platforms. I would love to have you check out my YouTube channel. It is youtube.com/Jerald Simon. JeraldSimon. I have Motivation in a Minute and Poetry That Motivates videos that I have produced, in addition to my own music videos and music educational instructional tutorials that I've created to help teach music the fun way. I'd love to have you check it out. I'd love to connect with you on social media. You can connect with me on any social media platform. You can go to facebook.com/Jerald Simon. I'm also on Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, all the different social pages at Jerald Simon. JeraldSimon. Simon. But I'd love to have you check out my music. Let me know what you think. Thanks for listening. Hope you guys have a great day.